Welcome to Straight from the Source with Hayley Watts, and we have, for the very first time ever, multiple guests today, but multiple guests with one mission, right?
I hope so.
These are the visionaries behind Stovall Workplace in downtown Chico. Is that still considered downtown, that far to the south?
What, are you kidding me? Right across the street from the plaza?
Downtown. It's the
oh
heart
my
of
goodness.
downtown.
Rewind that take.
I always go to Tres Hombres, so then I'm thinking like that's
fair,
downtown.
That's
downtown.
fair. That's fair.
Okay,
That's
so
pretty happening
Matt, Lauren, all of you have been friends from long before you even came to Chico, right?
Yep.
Did you ever think that you'd, well, first of all, be here today, but be business partners together?
No, I mean, we kind of joked about it, like dreamed about it for years. Like I think a lot of college people do, like, oh, we should live together, we should live in the same town, live on the same street, start a business together. And didn't really kind of go anywhere until, I don't know, 2016. We kind of finally said, like, let's like actually do it, let's set a date. And so we kind of picked 2018, we picked Chico. They had been here for what, since 2010?
2010, yep.
Okay.
And we'd been visiting them over the years. We loved it. And so we kind of decided to move up here and join them and start Stovall.
Okay. Now, Matt
Johnson.
Yeah. Forgive me. I told you this is unedited, even if I look like an
most
idiot.
People say Johnson,
then,
so that's maybe better to say Johnson.
And then Thedes, and now you two are married.
Yes.
Okay. And so you all met, was it in San Luis Obispo, right?
Yep. Cal Poly. We started going there in 2005. I think Matt came in 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
Okay.
And then we became like immediate buddies. And then we started dating. I think we were buddies, and then we started dating, and then we were all just became buddies.
And my wife, who's not here, was roommates with Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then our other roommate Trevor is married to their other roommate Allie at the time. And we all got married in the same summer of 2010, like one right after the other. So we had to like meticulously.
Yeah, we were all in each other's weddings, so we had to like space them out by 3 weeks, so we could do honeymoons and then go to the other person's wedding.
Yeah.
Okay, so
times.
you're this pack of people with a vision, right? For
not at the time. Are you
not
kidding
at
me?
the time. You're just a pack of
No, we're
people.
doinking around. Yeah. Well, because actually the reason we all like stratified, well, some people graduated. And then others got kicked out of Cal Poly.
Okay.
I was a physics major. That was a horrible idea. A whole bunch of things. But academically, I didn't do well. Then I was like, I'm going to join the SEALs. Then I shattered my leg, racing street luges, so I got disqualified from that. And then tried to figure out what to do with my life. So we moved up here to Chico.
Straight from our honeymoon.
So we got married because... basically, when I left Cal Poly, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And when the Navy stuff didn't work out, which is probably for the best, I was doing physics. I switched to civil engineering, a little more my speed, a little more practical.
Okay.
But then I applied to a bunch of other schools. They pretty much all said no, and Chico State was like, we'll take you. So we got married that summer. We moved up to Chico for me to finish at civil engineering.
Okay.
Matt went down to...
Yeah, we went down to LA for a few years, and then we moved to the Bay for a few years. I was in tech for a little while, but we had always kind of dreamed of like maybe one day, and eventually like we'd kind of talked about it. And it's like, well, we can't do it now, but like after we kind of finish each of our jobs, we're like, we probably have to do it for another couple years to fill our commitments. But after that, we can kind of do whatever and do a business together, and that's kind of where it started.
So you knew Chico was Chico really sucks you in. It is a cool place. I came here for school. I left, but it always kind of stuck in my mind. And when I came back here for this job, it was like, this is going to be a 2-year stint and I'll leave, and I just fell in love with it all over again. There's something different about it.
Yeah, it has really good community. I think we had such good community when we were in Cal Poly with our buddies. And I feel like this is probably true with most college folks, is you have like this really tight-knit community, and then you kind of, everybody goes their separate ways afterwards. You kind of lose that sense. And I remember when we'd follow up with a lot of our friends kind of years later, everybody always struggled with community, and we just always felt like we had such good community here. And so when we started talking about doing a business together, we were like, we could go to Colorado, do we go to Oregon? And we kind of threw out everywhere. But it just felt like, man, we loved Chico. They loved come and visit here, and come and visit here. I'll get it out. And so it just kind of made sense, with what we wanted to do, and we knew the town pretty well, and we felt like there were some needs that we could kind of fill. So that's what at least started the like, what about here?
Yeah. Okay. So who came up with the idea for Stovall specifically?
Gosh, I feel like that was kind of a team effort and a slow rolling things out. I think kind of the culmination of all of us having careers in different areas, very different sectors, but envisioning this idea of what would it look like to create a space that you could have different types of fields all working together and sharing expertise, knowledge, experience, whatever it might be in that crossover.
Yeah.
We'd all also worked in spaces where there wasn't always great community at work, and the sustainability of that just adds such a different level. And so you get to kind of have this idea of what could it be to be building community while you're working. And how do you do that better? By pairing coffee shop with the co-working. It's
right.
the coffee shop being the hub of where all community happens.
I know a lot of my reporters, when they're doing stories in downtown Chico, that's the go-to place, right? Because a lot of times they're shooting a story, maybe they're at City Plaza, and they don't want to jam across town to come back here just to go back downtown to go live. So it's like, just set up shop at Stovall, right? And I think a lot of people are doing that more and more, especially with Zoom and just with the advent of kind of like work from home.
Yeah.
But not everybody home isn't always a place where you can get work done. Certainly I couldn't.
Yeah, which we've all done that. It's like you try to work at home and it's like it's nice. There's nice parts about it, but then like if you got kids and they're knocking on the door and they're interrupting calls and you also just feel guilty like locking yourself away in there when the kids are crazy. And, yeah, it's just nice to get into a new space where there's other people like around. You're not just like, closeted in your...
cat walking across the keyboard.
Yeah,
I mean, as cute as that is in meetings, everybody thinks it's cute, but it's a little bit,
Yeah.
Okay, so, but Stovall itself, so that was, you said 2018?
Well, yeah, so we moved up in 2018. I think we decided on the concept a couple years before that. And in part, it was like, we knew we wanted to do something like built around community.
Okay.
And we had brainstormed, like every week we'd get together and just chat over like a Skype call or something and just like talk through ideas or whatever. And coffee shop was one of them. But then part of it was just finding the building that we found. We found it came up for sale. We loved the location. We loved downtown. But it was so big that we're like, this is not just a coffee shop. And so it kind of made us dream a little bit bigger of like, okay, what else could we do? And like we've seen that kind of concept before where you can kind of combine the two and we kind of feel they complement each other well.
Yeah.
And so then 2018, we moved up in 2018, but the building was still getting worked on, I think for another, 2 years maybe?
Yeah. Because 2018, I mean, that was kind of a tough year for our community.
Super tough year.
Yeah.
And so, but that was, for you, that was still the development and planning stage of this, right? What all goes into, like, so you pick the space, you come up with the vision almost to fit the space, which is a little bit in reverse of what a lot of people do. As you know, from there to opening day, what kind of shifted for all of you, and what adjustments did you make from the original vision to what we see today?
So many.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Paradise Fire was a huge component of what was happening in our community at that moment. All of our bids for the building, small potatoes compared to what other people were dealing with, but all the bids had just gone out, and all of a sudden we're looking at this are contractors who live in spaces who they've got way bigger things on their plate right now. So everything got put on hold. We also, as we're restarting that piece of it and the construction part of it, now we're hitting COVID in 2020, and so that shifts what can happen, how many people can be in the building at a time, what teams will work with other people in the building, or if it's just one trade at a time in this massive space. So it was a very drawn out process. We had hired a couple of people who had started just part-time to start kind of getting some of the business off the ground on the coffee roasting side of things. And we were committed to keeping them on board. And so we started a coffee cart and started basically popping up around town, and then eventually during COVID moved to during home deliveries. We were using the coffee cart to make coffees and then driving them all around town. And so lots of flexibility. I think if nothing, we know how to do that really well. It's just
we're good at pivoting
and going with the flow of what needs to happen and putting the people who are on our team first. So.
Are you pretty hands-on? Like when you say driving the coffee cart around, were any of you all
the
running the
coffee
cart?
cart stayed at our house.
Okay.
We live in the Avenues in just a regular size house. So we would, every morning it was like 6 a.m. we'd get it. But even so, when the pandemic hit and we were like, what do we do with the cart? We had a couple employees. We, Tages from the health department hopefully won't call me, but when we did the deliveries, we were just doing that out of the basement of our house.
Yeah.
Because we had that huge commercial espresso machine that we have at Stovall. We have that in our basement. And when I say basement, I mean like this tiny little 200 square, like a very tiny room that we ran our deliveries out of. But it did really well. We partnered with Camina Bakery, so we were every night it was like you were planning the deliveries, because we were just getting messages on social media being like, hey, we'd ask them for like, hey, what's your order? What time window do you want? And we would just map it all out like the night before while we were watching reruns of Office or Parks and Recreation. And then that morning, everybody get to work at like 6. I was like delivery driver for,
4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours a day for like 9 months until we opened. And then that was, a whole other kind of thing. But, since, and then I think with all of Stobel, it's like once we've, because Matt was not only working with us doing all of the Stobel stuff, but Matt was also doing some other remote work, because he was a designer at Netflix in the Bay before they moved up, and then he started doing some of that remotely, and then kind of kept his hands more in the tech world alongside all of this stuff. So I think we were all running ragged and very in the weeds. I basically lived at Stobel for like, the first 6 months, pretty much every day, just kind of, working at the bar.
Yeah.
I'm still the janitor guy.
Yeah.
Not janitor guy. I'm the like maintenance guy.
Okay.
No, I'm not the cleaning person, but I still fix a bunch of stuff, which is great. I remember for a while there was a dude who he knew he worked in the kitchen, and they would, whenever something broke, they'd be like, oh, go get Matt. He didn't even know I was one of the owners. He just thought I was the maintenance guy, which is great.
Yeah.
But kind of since then, we've just really, because I don't know where we're going to kind of evolve the conversation with where we're at, because since Stobel started, we've kind of started, I think, maybe like 8 or 9 LLCs of just these different little kind of things for, the whole point of Stobel in the first place was just to do something that felt like it had a positive impact on the community, felt like it filled a gap or met some sort of need. And that's why I think where we're headed with the Lupine Legacy Foundation and all that stuff is really just kind of doing things that felt like, oh, at the time this feels like a helpful thing to do, and we have like the ability or the resources to kind of try to meet those needs as we just kind of keep walking those things forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it also gave us an opportunity to have a space in which we're rubbing shoulders with more of the community,
Big
so
time.
that it broadens our perspective and it broadens our ability to understand, have a finger on the pulse, for lack of a better term, of what the community needs and how we move things forward. We're not doing this from our perspective, our limited window of, visibility. We're actually kind of gauging more of what is going on in the community and other areas that we're not necessarily quite as involved, and how do we start making decisions and move things forward in a way that is impactful and on a much broader sense.
So, maybe you have some insight then, because something that a lot of us are just watching happen is these businesses that we all think, gosh, we love that business, it must be super successful, suddenly it's closing, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just retail. I get it, because Amazon is addictive and convenient.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But even you see like Panama Bar and Cafe, and like the karaoke, like they're just
Pomona,
yeah. So I
much of
mean,
downtown.
from what you're seeing with the people that you're out and about with, and from the business perspective, what do you think's going on?
It's a good question. I think it's so complex to answer. I think there's the reality of, the cost of staying in downtown is high, and it's trying to meet that through the reality of a college town, and a really seasonal approach to businesses is tricky. A lot of businesses are great until you hit June, and then all of a sudden it's like, we hope we make it through the summer.
Right.
We don't, I would say, and lightly, there's not necessarily this overall support of the entire community to go to businesses downtown. There's a lot of mixed opinions about whether they want to spend time downtown or visit businesses downtown, bring their children downtown. We believe, I think we experience that in San Luis Obispo, that downtown is the heart of the community, and we very much still believe that, and want to keep investing in both spaces and businesses that exist downtown, and hopefully revitalizing that perspective a little bit, that families feel more excited about bringing their kids downtown and supporting these businesses. And it's not just college, area. And bars. There's just a vast mix of what you can find downtown. I think that would be my biggest take, but feel free to add other things.
It's like running a restaurant and cafe, like it's hard to make the numbers work. Even for us, it's like we're lucky when we're break even. It's just expensive to do, and margins are very thin, and it's like a lot of people are trying to make it work downtown, but it is tough, and you've got rent to deal with, and payroll and all that, but we just want to see it. We want to see more businesses be able to stay, because we love downtown. We just want to keep it thriving.
So
the walkability, bikeability of Chico is something I think that is like the biggest draw to the community for us. We live in the avenues. We bike our kids to school all the time.
Yeah,
we
they
bike
go to
to work.
CCDS, so we're kind of bookending the downtown.
So we want this to stay. We want that to stay lively. But.
Right. Now I've read that you had some starter money to help you out in the beginning,
big time.
right? But then I think one of you just mentioned kind of like just trying to kind of make ends meet, essentially, and there's some times of the year where you're lucrative and other times where you're operating at a loss.
Absolutely.
But I mean, do you feel like Stovall has a future? I mean, are you making money off of this right now at all?
Oh, well, so we've never actually taken any money from it, ever. What we do, anytime, I remember the first year we got done and we made like $100,000 in like profit or something. And we were like, oh man, we did great. And we gave all of it to our employees. And we were like, this is awesome. And then January hit, and like, as all coffee shops do, like it was crazy dead.
And it was our first year in business, and realized we hadn't drawn for the final quarter sales tax.
There were taxes.
So
we were like, oh shit.
we were learning.
But I think for us, what was your question? I had a like.
Is the business itself, is it actually making money year after year?
Not really, but that's honestly due to probably one thing in particular. But we believe in it so much is early on we decided we wanted to give all of our full-time staff health insurance, which is just unheard of. Honestly, even in like the restaurant world, much less like the coffee shop world. But it just felt like something. I think because the intent with going into any of the projects we do, both at Stovall and with Lupine, any of that stuff, is always okay. Can we do something that's like maybe an existing model, but how do we try to make it like just like nudge it into a little bit better of a sense? So with you hear a lot of stories about like the hospitality industry or the coffee world in general, just being like, can we swear? I don't know.
I'll put a warning out before.
Poor working conditions. And so it was, could you make a space that values the customers and the staff equally, so that everybody who's in that building, whether they're working there, have a little cup of coffee, that they all feel like they walk away and that was a good experience. So one of those things was, well, what if we gave everybody who works 30 hours or more health insurance? And we're like, oh, that's great. Yeah, why doesn't everybody else do that? And then you start doing it, and you're like, oh, I get it. It's that costs us thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And it's like, oh, if we took that away, like we'd be profitable, no problem.
Right.
But that is such an important piece that we believe in. We go, well, no, that needs to stay. And I think it's telling that I think we've had 10 primary folks on our management team that have been the same since 2018 or 2019 when we started hiring folks. Like nobody's left, because I think we've created a culture that people like. We have even though like coffee shops can be a more college forward. We have plenty of college students that work for us. We have an extraordinarily low turnover rate. We've created a good place that people want to work, and I think that.
But
that
I would
helps.
say we're also leaning into, I think in general, what you'll learn from us over time now, whatever it might be, is we're not focused on making profit quickly. It's that long-term model. And so if we can prioritize our employee health and employee satisfaction, that's better for our community, and look at creating sustainability with a little bit of a long-term approach. We do have the resources that we continue investing in the business if we need to.
Yeah.
That's not true for every small business, but I think there is that piece of that's something that we're going to prioritize. We are looking at what does it look like to expand? And with that being, you can kind of have this larger umbrella, larger pool of people, but that allows for some breaks on the costs of benefits as you spread that across. It allows us to spread our marketing department over 5 restaurants. It allows us to spread some of our, even as we're buying in bulk and a cost of goods, it kind of stretches the dollar a little bit more.
Yeah.
So the hope is, as we open up these other spaces over the next couple of years, spread our team out into some of those new spaces, let them basically kind of drive what's happening in those areas. Can we actually prove a sustainable model?
Right.
We're actually in the process of giving up our ownership for Stovall, creating what's called a restaurant group under a public benefit corporation. All of our managers are going to take larger portions of ownership, very larger portions of ownership, and then the employees will also, all employees will have a portion of the ownership as well, and be able to drive the decisions for how the company makes its operating choices and move things forward. So
we'll still be partnered with them, but we actually won't have control of that of Stovall in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
We'll be like Lauren mentioned, we're turning into what's called a public benefit corporation. But what we're doing something also, these are all lame terms, so bear with me, called Golden Share Steward Ownership Model, which lets our foundation actually hold the economic rights. So instead of asking the managers to take the financial burden and the financial risk for supporting that company, is we can do that and say, hey, we'll actually hold the economic rights, but we won't have any control. The only thing we'll have is like a 1% veto vote. But outside of that, we're fully kind of putting it in their hands to guide it. Because at the end of the day, it's like, sure, we got it started and we're there every day. We've been in the weeds for years, but our team's what is they made it what it is, and like they're so good at what they do. And the more that, as even the new spaces, like that wasn't our decision when we're developing another, like a little restaurant and another coffee shop down on Humboldt Street. And, that was they were the ones that came up with that idea and wanted to push it forward, and we just wanted to support that. And even up till now, like they're the ones that are meeting with the architects and the designers and getting it all kind of dialed in. We're just more kind of playing this, support role. And so just trying to formalize that, and the hope is, like Lauren mentioned, is because we've been in this, for 6 whatever years now, you realize like how tight your margins are, how fine tuning can really make or break you. So you're saying, okay, if we have multiple locations, they all share a back end, so they share a lot of the administrative efforts. But then you're kind of taking the ownership percentage out where it's all operator run and it works based on a profit share model. The hope is that really can be a proven model for like other towns when they see that we've got locally controlled, like good, hospitality kind of food-centric places that work well, that are providing really good benefit to the community. It's like, it gives the community an identity. Like, it'd be so great to go, oh yeah, if you can set it up in this way and you kind of have these shared systems in place, it could really kind of work out well.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be like 5 or 10 years for us to really like know if it will hopefully say like, yeah, you can do this and it's sustainable and it works. And, and if not, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay. So you mentioned the secondary kind of coffee shop sort of thing. You said Humboldt.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
And Humboldt Street, not like Humboldt. We only do things in Chico.
Right.
It's just FYI.
I should
Somebody's like,
yes,
on the coast? Nah.
No. Here on Humboldt.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
So what else besides coffee and shared workplaces?
Oh man, so many things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few projects downtown. I mean, we have a couple buildings that are getting developed up by the old 7-Eleven is going to become a donut shop.
Are you the fancy donut people? I've been hearing about
yes.
this.
Well, we're not
sort
fancy
of.
donut people.
Donuts.
It'll be a Slodoco, which is a San Luis Obispo donut shop. Our architect Trevor, who's also our buddy, who works at his offices in Stobel, he designed the Slodoco down in Slow, and the owner was really hoping to put one here. And we just want more things downtown that feel, good, and they think they would do good and help kind of, bring more people downtown. So, and it was right when 7-Eleven went dormant, they were kind of thinking about it and it was sitting there, and we were like, that'd be a pretty sweet spot.
Because I really like donuts. So can we talk more about like what is Slodoco? Like, have you guys been to Donut Nook on East Avenue?
Sure.
That's currently my favorite.
That's our regular spot.
You got to have cash though, man.
I know, it's frustrating, and the hours are tough too. What's the Slodoco donut like? Like, what's special about them?
I have not had a Slodoco donut.
I've had one before. They're super
I
solid. I don't know. How do you describe?
Is it? Yeah.
They're kind of fancy donuts, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay,
but not like douchey.
I would say,
creative.
You know what I mean?
Creative.
Yeah,
not
creative
fancy,
donuts.
but
That's a better
creative.
word.
I feel like
So a
creative.
little artsy.
artsy on the top,
where's
different
that?
styles of toppings. They have, I mean, honestly, they are like marketing to college students in San Luis Obispo, and they've picked a lot of other small towns in Central Coast that they have some other locations as well.
So it'll be unique.
Yeah.
It's like an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And some of our projects, like a lot of our projects we're more involved in. This is one where like it's a totally separate company like that we are helping develop the space for, but we're not going to be running.
Yeah, I don't know.
the space at
Are you
all.
familiar with any of the other? Because we can kind of run the laundry list of all this. So next door to that will be an art gallery that was in the old Mr. Copy building called Second Cousin. Maddie Hinckley, who will be the art director and managing that space. They used to work at Stobel. They're an art professor at Chico State and at Butte College. So that was just another partnership. They'd wanted to put an art gallery in town, and it just felt like a perfect kind of like partnership that we got to do together to support. So that'll be going in there. Both of those have already passed planning, and now we're waiting for the permits to get built.
I just want to make sure I understand this correctly, because these are all different LLCs.
Well, so yes and no, they kind of are. But what we're currently doing is we started a private foundation a couple years ago, Lupine Legacy Foundation.
Okay.
And what we've been doing kind of since then, because we realized as we made all these different LLCs to try different things, so we started like a residential rent-to-own home program for our staff a few years ago, and then we started a few other development projects and a few other kind of nonprofit things. What we started to realize, like, we should try to kind of bring them all under kind of one umbrella, and so our team could kind of support that as well. So all of our properties are actually going to be owned under the foundation. So we've slowly been moving more and more, like the Colliers building that we just purchased, that already is owned by the foundation. Those buildings will be owned by the foundation. And same with, with the Public Benefit Corporation. So like, the restaurant group will be outside of that with the foundation kind of supporting it financially. But then our hire team will be part of another public benefit corporation called Tandem that kind of provides a lot of supportive services both for our foundation and for a lot of our partners that we can kind of help with. It's very confusing, but we can kind of keep going through the list of other kind of fun things that we're doing too, if that's helpful.
I mean, what's going to happen there?
Oh man, I feel like we kind of after the whole cute idea of like get an old building, make it awesome. It's like a nightmare, like to do that.
It's old.
It's old. It's not economical, but but you see what like we did with Stolblum, like it has so much value there. So you just have to think about it in kind of like longer term,
It's a
impacts.
staple. It's a staple of our community. It's a staple of downtown. It's something you see across the street from Chico State. So it's something where it's like you want that to live on. You want to honor the historic. Just beauty of the space and keep that alive, but also create something that can have new life in this community.
So it wouldn't be still like an old-fashioned hardware store.
So the current plan is we've been working with Aaron Horst, who started Legacy Stage, Shakespeare in the Parks, theater professor at Chico State. Is on to run what we want to do is we want to take all the upper floors that have been these performance spaces or kind of these venue spaces in the past. So the Royal Room and First Street Theater have been what they've been historically. We pretty much want to keep those kind of as is, but just fix them up a ton. Like there's a absurd amount of lead and asbestos in there, much less like all the like HVAC, mechanical plumbing, like all that stuff. It's just in horrible shape. Yeah. So the plan though is to kind of revitalize the entire upper floors of all of those buildings. Colliers is technically 3 buildings altogether. It's like there's 2 big ones, and then there's this kind of single-story one in between it and B Street. As just make it easier to kind of get to all of those spots on those upper floors, but really just the whole point of doing this, we actually had a plan in another site to kind of run like this. We just wanted to create more venues that were accessible to folks. Yeah. I think one of the things we realized, and the more that we've done a lot of these community-focused projects, is we just need more kind of venue space that's either super cheap or really free for folks that want to just put on like, hey, like we just want to put on a little after-school program or like a little improv troupe, but like they might not have any money, but it's a really good thing. How do we provide more? It's like Chico State has a performing arts building with like all these cool theaters. There's like 4 theaters in one building, but it's like untenable for like most people to be able to utilize any of that stuff just from the cost perspective. So can we provide spaces like that to folks that just want to use them, and like our priority is just activating those spaces. So the upper floors is really just making them cuter, and then really being able on a program level kind of offer both our own internal programs, but then provide a lot of opportunities for any folks who just want to utilize those for more kind of community-minded efforts, whether it's theater or other art, performing arts stuff. We want to have spaces that allow for that. And then the bottom floor, the hope is we're going to turn it into a general store. Okay. So it'd be like a little mini grocery store and a little mini hardware store, a little Ellis Art Supply, kind of a nice little homage to like all the other stores that we lost. Right. That's the goal. But we're also very nervous because it's big and it's scary.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it seems like you're sinking, you must have a good financial backing of some sort, because you're giving Chico all of this money and investment at a huge risk.
Well, and that's where, and it's helpful, and you can go onto our cute little website, lupinelegacy.org, and we're very upfront about it, we moved up here, we got our jobs, doing our thing, but then we realized we had, I think it's about 2018, 2017, we realized we had a lot of family trusts that there were just a lot of investments in stocks, things like that had done extraordinarily well. And we're just of the mind of, you just kind of see how unequal our economy is and just how hard it is for, like we were saying, our staff to, be able to buy a home or those kind of things. And that's true for most people, how hard it is for small businesses to succeed. So we just felt like, well, the best thing we can do is just take all the resources that we've been given, because we didn't have anything to do with getting them, and put them into things that feel like they're helpful, and just getting our community to be more like how we all kind of hope it be. More walkie aroundy, more cute trees, more bike stuff. That's like a big reason why we're doing like the bike park effort and working on a few other kind of bigger bike, focused efforts in town. We have a really good partnership with Chico Velo. And so we're doing a few different things with them. Right now, the main one is the bike park, but we've been supporting Colby Mountain.
Bike Park? Which
Yeah,
bike park?
yeah, exactly,
okay.
yeah. The Chico Bike Park.
Okay. So I
yeah.
didn't even know that you were involved in that.
Yeah. That was like one of our kind of. We've been kicking that around for I think 3 years ago. We're like nerdy into mountain biking, so we go to Truckee a lot, and they've got a public bike park, and it was like, man, we should have one of these things here. So we just started kicking around. So it became this really nice joint effort with us, Chico Velo, and the Recreation District.
Okay.
That we all kind of put that together. But it's hopefully it's moving. I don't know if you've been over there.
Where do things stand right now with that?
I mean, it's on track to be open hopefully in August.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. Don't go ride it. Don't go ride it before then. Don't jump the fence, even though there's stuff you can ride. Yeah, because that's Card's property, so got to be careful. But the hope is it's mostly built, so there's still a whole bunch of there'll be this like Ramble West is going to be over there, and there's going to be a cute little food truck lot there. Just try to make this nice kind of community gathering space.
Is there a lot more than just bike friendly?
So-
I think there's going to be a lot of options for a great family, community friendly spot to spend
playground
time,
for the
hang out.
kids. The food truck lot will be great for families.
Yeah.
And it's operated by Card? It
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, it's a joint effort between. So the city council a few years ago, we got them to, because it's an old retention basin, is what it was, like 6 acres. So it's still used for like overflow, like for stormwater overflow, because that'll still be the case. Like if there's ever a crazy storm, that basin can still fill with water if it needs to. We don't think it rarely will, but all the ramps and all the stuff should be fine if it's underwater a little bit. But the council a few years ago voted to give it to Card. Card is leasing it to Velo, and then we're working the three of us all together to make it happen.
And then long term.
And
And then Card will be the long-term
Card will
operator of
operate
it,
it.
which would be
Again,
awesome.
the What's in It for You, that's Lupine Foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lupine Legacy Foundation. The What's in It for You is literally just the fact that, hey, we're just making the community better. Like, you don't stand to gain from this?
Zero, no. Well, no, we get
ride the jump.
sick air. Like, look at this. This whip. This is my. Woo, can't wait. Like we said, it's like we've been dealt an extremely fortunate hand in life, and you just see the inequalities that abound in our society. And you go like, okay, what we have is maybe on a grand scale, it's not a ton, but on a local level, it's like we could do like. And here's the thing, it's like. Where we were telling you this like pre-interview is we've got us and they're on our street, they're right across the street, our other buddies are right across the street, my mom's next door, we have some other buddies moved across the street, we all have kids, they all go to the same school, they're all best buddies. We have a really good community, we're hanging all the time. Like I said, we did a little family sleepover this past weekend. And to me, good community is the best that life can really get, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, all the other stuff is just smoke. So I think for us to go, well, let's just use those resources. We don't need to buy 12 houses. Like put them into things that feel helpful for everybody. So that's the hope.
What about the El Rey?
So we that's like more like a partnership project. We're kind of just on the skirts. We like that team. Like that's how we got to know Mahina and Dustin Vaught, and I think they're just doing a really good job of trying to lead an effort.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of meetings with them. Again, it's the scary. You got an old building, it needs a ton of work, but we've committed to like, hey, we want to be a significant part of that project to get it going.
And that was just a shot in the dark because I just like the El Rey, and I've been hoping like somebody would jump in. So I had no idea.
And
Well,
again,
either way.
it's not the Save the El Rey folks are doing an awesome job in like leading that effort. We think they're going to do something sweet, and we just want to be able to provide support.
So it's theoretically still for sale right now, or is there somebody?
I think they're getting close to working on a deal.
Okay.
I don't know the ins and outs
Okay.
for I haven't gotten any recent updates with where they're at, but I
Lupine
know they're trying to figure that
Legacy
out.
Is involved to a certain extent.
We're simply pledging to give some
support
towards the
it.
project.
But we
and
did
support
send
the
them like
project.
a kind of like a LOI that like formalized our commitment,
Yeah.
because I think we already committed to like $2.5 million to support that effort.
Sure.
So I know that they're trying to make some moves. I just don't want to say like where they're at
Right.
yet. But
it's not a project. Not
Dustin's like the main head honcho who's kind of figuring all that stuff
Yeah.
out. But again,
Okay.
something we'll be super pumped about
Okay.
to see happen.
What else have we not talked about? We've covered more than I even knew was going on.
Right, when you kept talking about Snowball, I was like, oh, do you not know about all the other things?
You gotta have
bad.
the backstory first.
Yeah.
Know how
It's
it
fine. It's not like
started.
you're a news reporter.
And we have
so.
45 minutes. So.
I mean, there's
got?
more.
There's
There's
a lot.
more bike stuff. We can talk about Wilder a little bit, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so Wilder is a property that was like almost 1,000
About
acres.
1,000 acres.
Over kind of off the 32,
Okay.
kind of opposite Upper Park. And
Still
that's hopefully going to be a combination of, I mean, one, working with CAL FIRE to do fire breaks and land management.
And primarily the RCD, Resource
right.
Conservation District. Dad Walker, which camera am I looking at? Dad, you're the man. You're the man. Dad Walker's the man. He's part of Chico Velo, but he's also the head of the Butte County Resource Conservation District, and just a homie and a half. He's so great. He's doing the, do you know about the Colby Mountain Project?
No.
What?
I know. Tell me more.
Oh man, we'll talk about that later. That's great. But yeah, go ahead.
So it's going to be, in addition to that stuff, it's going to be trails as well. So there'll be some hiking trails, there'll be some biking trails, but eventually, like could maybe eventually connect down to the other bike park,
Right.
Down the old Humboldt Road, and so that's another kind of bike-related, just
And
outdoor-related project.
Who owns that property right now?
The foundation.
The foundation does. Oh, okay. So you purchased this property.
Correct.
And now it's kind of like getting with the city, right?
The county.
That is with the county.
No. Thad is with the Resource Conservation District, which is a special district. He's just one of those guys who's just like, we've never owned land before. The most land we've owned is like our backyard and the avenues, boop, boop. So when we were looking at it, we just had an idea of, you've got Bidwell Park, which is this wonderful resource, but there's a lot of things, in terms of like the city's available budget for it. It was never really designed to be what it is now. Like it was never designed for mountain bikes and shared trails between hikers and bikers and all these things. And you see a lot of, and that terrain is extraordinarily difficult to like build like good biking infrastructure or other infrastructure for people to explore, So we felt like there was an opportunity there. And two, for how rural Chico is, we have a very little amount of public land around us. Like you go up to Reading, there's all this BLM land, there's all these trail systems, and we don't really have that in Chico. It's mostly private land. Yeah. And you kind of feel the inevitable development of like things going up in the hills. Like even the property we purchased, the county had approved like a 300 home development in there, and so we're not going to do that. So we just felt like it was a good opportunity for us to get another piece of land that it's gorgeous up there. We lived here for 15 years. I'd never been up there until last year. And you go, man, this is wonderful. This should be another thing that like the community gets to explore and see and be a part of, and we get to conserve and then use the opportunity to find better management practices for the land, for fire control. It's like one canyon over, we had the third largest fire in the state, a couple years ago, and that needs, a lot better fire management practices. Yeah. So how can we do that? But then also provide another outlet for building better trail systems, providing another outlet for the public to explore like how beautiful it is in our area. So
it's interesting because I'm from Southern California, and so a more
which part?
Well, Agora Hills is where I grew up, and so like along the 101.
She grew up in Irvine.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. And so you probably know this, how it's like Southern California, everyone thinks like city, right? But the hiking is incredible everywhere because you have all the coastal mountain ranges. And that's the one thing about Chico, is like we have all this open space and it's so incredible, but it's like, oh, have you hiked Annie Bidwell Trail yet? Or Yahi? If you've done it, then okay.
Yeah. Right.
So I love the concept of having more places to explore where you don't have to drive all the way up to Shasta County.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
What about it? Horses wouldn't work in this spot when you have mountain bikes, right?
Well, no, we're trying to figure that out. I'm not saying yes or no. We're trying to explore all the avenues, because in the same way, like one of the things we're looking to do is you can have dedicated use trails, and you see this a lot in like the Swayze recreation, the Swayze trail system that's up in Reading is a good example of that, where you can have specific trails. So instead of everything's multi-use, it's like, hey, this trail is like directional and it's only for mountain bikers, and then this trail is like going to be for hikers. So you can, that way, people can feel safe, and not like when you're going on any B, you're like, is there a, because I always feel bad coming down. Like we ride in the park all the time, and you feel bad coming down when you've got a family, and they're like, even if I'm like, I'm sorry, trying to be, careful, like you get it, it's scary. And so there's a lot of other folks that are doing things to make it, so you can have trails that are purpose built for different types of user groups, whether that's hikers, bikers, potentially, equestrian. I'm not a horse guy, so that's one of the things we've been talking to some folks, and that's one of the things that we're looking into to see how feasible it is to kind of have shared use across board.
Yeah, okay, great. What is the earliest we could see something like this become usable?
That area?
Yeah.
Good question. So we spent about a year doing a lot of kind of like environmental like research and data collection. We've got a really awesome biological scientist who works on a bunch of our projects. Shout out Carol. And she started kind of doing a lot of environmental surveys there, just to see what, if it was feasible, could we kind of, build like some trail infrastructure for hiking and biking in a way that, was going to have, little to no impact on the land. We started talking a bunch to the county because this is in county's jurisdiction to kind of pitch what we wanted to do. So we've been doing this for about a year, I'd say, kind of really getting a plan together. And so we're working on, we've kind of laid out some pilot trails that we want to put in. We've got some new kind of construction methods that we want to try to utilize. That's not just, what you see in Bidwell Park is they just kind of cut into the trail, but we don't have a lot of dirt. So it quickly kind of turns into rocks and erodes, and it's bad for the environment and it's bad for the user groups, and it just kind of gets worse over time. There's a lot of other methods that you see in other places, especially in Europe, but most of the time it's like they're not really feasible because they're cost prohibitive. But we think those methods would work pretty well here. So the goal is to start building those, hopefully in the fall, depending on our CEQA permits and our permits with our conditional use permits with the county. We've been chatting with all the neighbors up there to make sure everybody feels good about trying this. If the pilots work well, then we'd find some way to start letting people, have access to that, which we're trying to figure out what the regulation looks like on those things.
Yeah.
So that way, people are up there, using it for its intended purposes. Hopefully, maybe sometime like mid to end of next year, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm way off,
Yeah.
but that's, we're hoping to be building like some pilot trails in the winter, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Everything takes way longer than you expect.
That's one thing we've learned is everything just, if it has to do with development and approvals, everything just takes a long, long time.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a reason, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
And people, I think a lot of, whether you're building a backyard ADU or a huge commercial project, everybody knows the environmental impact reports and filing the permits and just the waiting.
Yeah.
But would you say that kind of stuff is for good reason, or there's too much?
That's a tough question. I mean, you get why it's there. You wouldn't want to
Yeah.
exist in a community where none of that's there.
Right.
Be on the other side of it, you're like, yeah, we're trying to do good things. It's a
Right.
pain to be slowed down, but you understand why it's there, and you
Yeah.
understand it's trying to protect everybody. And I think in the position that we're in, it's like, well, yeah, we know these things are going to take years, and so let's just start them now and get them moving, and then they'll happen, and eventually they're great. But yeah, we've learned just to expect the time
Right.
delay and kind of price that in.
Okay. We're getting close to the end of our time. So what other exciting things are ahead of us that I haven't asked you about, that we haven't spoken about?
What else are we missing? I mean, we have a couple other commercial properties, not anything necessarily super exciting happening on them currently in downtown and kind of along Park Avenue. Hopefully some long-term vision that will build into those spaces. Rent-to-own program we mentioned a little bit. That's something that's a little bit at a standstill at the moment. We have 8 pilot kind of homes that we're trying this with, all with people that we have a relationship with, but the idea being bridging that gap between homeownership and renting, that you could be actually putting a portion of your rent each month towards equity in the home, or potentially even just towards a payment back, so you could go have a down payment on a different house of your choosing at some point towards the end of the program. That the reality of what the cost of rent right now, that is just money that you're spending and it gets thrown away at the end, it's like or just goes back into the hands of the property owner. It leaves people with no opportunity to save, no opportunity to slowly build their own down payment. If they don't have a family member or somebody who could provide that for them, you're out of luck. So kind of exploring what that looks like. If there's people who are willing to take a little bit less of a return on their investment in terms of owning the home, there's actually a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room to be able to give that back towards tenants who also care about investing in the home. They want to own it someday, so they're going to do some of that work, kind of treating them like homeowners from the beginning. So,
well, we're running into inventory problems because we were just buying existing inventory like starter homes, and that's just like, even from an economics data perspective, when like you get those numbers from the state in terms of like the anticipated numbers of the houses that we're going to need by 2030, it's like single family homes are like our biggest deficit. And so that's something, we're not neighborhood developers, but we've been looking at, building single new builds don't pencil out, especially if we're trying to make something affordable for people to purchase. So we're, trying to go, do we get into the neighborhood development? So we've been having a ton of conversations with a whole bunch of folks around town to just see if that's kind of the next step on just, because it has legs, and, it's working really well. We've gotten a few of the people that have been in that program. We've sold to the homes already, those people that, they were able to kind of accrue what they hoped to in that, to then, buy the home at a rate that worked for them, and that was really cool. So Yeah, everything that we do is it's an experiment to try to see, like, can we do something that just is a little bit better than what's there, and it provides a better model, not just for us, but like in this town, but like, other towns will go, hey, you did a cool thing over there. How do we do that here? And we could say, hey, here's what you need, and here's a pathway to get there. It feels like it'd be, a helpful thing.
So my last question would be just for people who listen to this, and so maybe it's an art teacher or like someone with a theater group or whatnot, and they want to get involved and maybe whether it be contribute or make use of these spaces in the works. How do they get a hold of like Lupine Legacy? How do they engage?
we just put out our website. I mean, this last year has been kind of us trying to kind of formalize all this stuff. And
we're very heads down.
Yeah, and it's been, a lot of this has been ad hoc, but we're kind of trying to formalize. We have a little team around it. So we do have a website now, lupinelegacy.org. People can contact us. But right now, we have nothing formal in terms of like, applying for grants or things like that, but we love to hear from people because we are still trying to just meet people in the community, figure out where the needs are, figure out where possible partnerships are, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, full circle to the whole like Stovall concept of just getting to know the pulse of the community.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay, well, Matt, Lauren, thank you all so much.
Thanks for having us, Hayley.
Thanks for listening today. I decided to offer this podcast after enough of you let me know that you wanted a deeper dive into certain stories than you get on our TV broadcasts. We elect certain people to represent our voice, but who are they really? My hope is that this podcast answers that question. I love your feedback, and I want to know who you'd like to hear from next. Just fill out that comment section and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify.